Looking out from Mount Kira, you're basically looking at two worlds colliding. In one direction, there's the steel city that powered Australia's industrial growth, with BlueScope still a major part of the economy. Look in the other direction, and there's the green innovation hub that Wollongong is becoming, from leading coastal management systems to adaptations for the worst impacts of climate change. This really is a city poised to lead the region, the nation, and the world. Steel and solar, coal and clean development, past and future coexisting on paper. This isn't supposed to be the case. Industrial cities built on fossil fuels, they're supposed to be the villains in our climate story, the places needing transformation. But the places leading that transformation, that really wasn't in the story. Yet here's Wollongong, steel city and green innovator, genuinely transforming. Now, this interplay, this dichotomy, this tension is not unique to Wollongong. In fact, it's become one of the defining challenges of our time. Those places that have found their way through have landed on something I like to call pragmatic altruism. So I want to take a moment to explore and appreciate what makes Wollongong so unique and what this humble city can teach the rest of the world about meaningful climate action. But before we do any of that, we need to understand what so often fails in other parts of the world, and it really does come down to an imbalance between altruism and pragmatism, leading us to feel like we're almost stuck between two opposing narratives. The first is what I call the theater of sustainability. We see this all the time in things like corporations investing millions of dollars in glossy 200-page sustainability reports while their own emissions barely budge. Our political leaders sign aggressive net zero pledges with no credible pathways of achieving them. The ultra-wealthy and celebrities give a pittance to their favorite causes while their own behavior goes unchanged. All of these things give the impression of forward momentum, but really, it's just false hope. Then, the second narrative is the paralysis of doom. Imagine being in the room when whatever marketing genius thought up modern sustainability messaging. There's the burnt-out hellscape of an Earth. It's the Mad Max future where we're all wearing black leather jackets, riding around on motorbikes, fighting for scraps. It's the sad, sad polar bear on the melting ice cap. All these images do is paralyze. Add to this the onslaught of climate myths and disinformation. It is a constant drumbeat of we're too late, it's all over, why even bother? And unfortunately, it's working. A recent study found 56% of young people now believe humanity's doomed. Think about that. More than half of the next generation have given up before they've even started. Now, these two narratives, they might come from opposing poles, but they lead us to the same place. False hope and hopeless despair both lead us to stagnation. One says, don't worry, we've got this, when we don't. And the other says, don't bother, we're finished, when we're not. Because Wollongong and places like it have forged a very different path, and this is something that I have seen work time and time again, but honestly, it's something I had to learn about the hard way. Leaving my job at the UN and in corporate boardrooms, shiny new strategy in hand, I thought it was going to change the world for people on factory floors and palm oil plantations, but that's not exactly how things panned out. I realized early on there is a glaring gap between what looks good on strategy and what it actually takes to elicit meaningful change. And that's what led me to pragmatic altruism, which really is the balance between the business imperatives of change and the altruistic imperatives of change. It's something I've practiced in my own life for years, and it's something more and more businesses are starting to adopt. So in that sense, Wollongong is already way ahead of the curve. Take BlueScope, for example, an indelible part of this region's history. The steelmaker is central to both economic progress and environmental degradation. In the Hollywood version of our tale, we'd simply bulldoze the whole thing, put something shiny, new, and green in its place. But we're a long way from Hollywood, and we know those screenwriters don't always get it right. In the real world, BlueScope isn't shutting down, because that would spell economic disaster. And they're also not pretending that steelmaking is somehow suddenly green. That'd be greenwashing. Instead, they're doing something much more difficult. They're investing massive amounts of time, resources, and brainpower into hydrogen research and development that will potentially eliminate 2 million tons of CO2 from the atmosphere every year, all while maintaining the jobs this community relies on. Is it slower than what we would want? Yeah. Is it more than what we thought possible? Also, yes. Or how about the University of Wollongong's Energy Futures Network? They're not chasing Silicon Valley buzz or some massive valuation, although I'm sure they're not going to turn down either if it comes knocking. No, they're creating energy storage solutions relevant specifically to Wollongong. This isn't theoretical, this is as practical as you can get, and that's what pragmatic altruism is. Real, relatable, and actionable. Then there's Port Kembla. 200 hectares transforming from coal port to clean energy hub, 30,000 jobs in new potential industries. This isn't happening overnight, it's slow, it's often very laborious, but it is happening. While the rest of the world continues to debate this stuff, Port Kembla is actually building. You see the pattern here. In every instance, Wollongong chose pragmatic altruism over performative narratives. They chose to demonstrate meaningful progress, reducing emissions, creating sustainable jobs, and moving towards that better future. All of this matters far more than any finely worded set of ambitions that simply sits on a piece of paper. So, if an Australian steel city can evolve using pragmatic altruism, what can the rest of the world take away from the Wollongong model? The first thing is a new critical lens for evaluating meaningful climate action. Let's call it the Wollongong test. The next time anyone in a position of influence tries to peddle some sustainability claim, ask yourself 3 simple questions. First, does this claim base itself in reality or pretend it doesn't exist? Second, does it take account of existing communities and industries or ignore them completely? And third, is progress measurable and quantifiable or simply based on ambitions and vibes? The second takeaway, we need to be leaning far more on the side of evidence-based hope versus toxic positivity. Wollongong shows you can make meaningful progress without needing rose-colored glasses. Think about it. If an Australian steel city can evolve while maintaining jobs, if industrial regions can change their economies without losing their identities, and if pragmatic altruism can work even in the harshest environments, then the doom narrative isn't just wrong, it's dangerous, because it prevents us from continuing the work that's already happening. Again, this isn't toxic positivity thinking everything's going to be all right. This is evidence-based hope, recognizing the work is hard, yes, but it's happening, and it's successful. The third takeaway, waiting for perfect solutions is a surefire way of getting left behind. The development, the changes, the evolutions that we so desperately need, they're happening as we speak all around the world, including here in Wollongong. In those places, no one's waiting for breakthrough technologies. No one's waiting for perfect political consensus. No one is waiting for someone else to go first. They're simply rolling up their sleeves and doing the hard work with the tools they already have at their disposal. There's fascinating research in climate psychology from Susan Clayton at the College of Worcester. She's found that those who fare best in the face of economic, social, and environmental uncertainties don't ignore reality. Instead, they take a much more pragmatic view. They focus on their own spheres of influence. They take questions far too large for one person to answer, like, I don't know, stopping climate change, and instead look at their own roles, resources, and knowledge at a local level. Exactly like Wollongong's done. So here's my question for all of you. Think about your own communities, a struggle that you're grappling with right now, your own spheres of influence, and ask yourself, what kind of sustainability narrative do I want to believe in? Is it one of pragmatic altruism and meaningful progress? Or is it one of those narratives, the theater of sustainability that makes you feel good, or the paralysis of doom that lets you off the hook? Counterintuitively, our struggle is not one between optimism and pessimism. No, our struggle is between meaningful progress or simply abdicating to what's most comfortable. Wollongong's chosen meaningful progress, and for that, every single person in this room should be immensely proud. Now, it's our job to promote, let's demand the same from everywhere else, from the corporations we patron, results over reports, from our political leaders, progress over pledges, and from ourselves, the patience and the grace to do the hard work even when everything else is telling us to stop. Back on the summit of Mount Kira, what can we see when we take an honest look at things? Yeah, there's the steel mills and the solar farms. There's this beautiful metropolis butting up against a gorgeous azure sea, but there's also a blueprint for what's possible. Wollongong's gift to the world is showing that pragmatic altruism works, that you can care deeply about the future while recognizing the difficulties in getting there, that the work we do is sometimes slow, methodical, and doesn't always work out the way we think it's going to, that you can make meaningful progress without sacrificing who you are, simply by starting where you are. The future does not belong to those with the best sustainability reports or the slickest marketing. And it certainly doesn't rest with those who have the most apocalyptic messages. No, the future belongs to those communities willing to do the hard, unglamorous, tedious work of building that better future together. Wollongong's already there. The view from Mount Kira proves this. Now, it's time for the rest of the world to climb on up and take in that view too. Thank you.